it's Jen, and welcome to the Live Genuinely podcast. I'm so pleased to be sharing the room with this fantastic woman and to have the chance to get some insight and wisdom from her experience. I met our next guest more than a decade ago and had the pleasure of doing some strength and endurance training with her. I was instantly captivated by her zest for life, her positive attitude, and a warm, genuine smile. Our next guest is a wonderful mom of three, fitness enthusiast, clinician, and my dear friend, Alicia Yarrick. How are you today, Alicia?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that this episode is actually coming right off the heels of our last show, which was my daughter Sienna, and she was talking about leaving for college.
Right.
And I wanted actually to follow up with that and talk to you because you recently had all three of your babies leave the nest.
Yes.
So I wanted to get a little bit of information on that, or I guess your insight as to how that happened or what happened with that. So before we dive into that, could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
I will preface this with I adore my kids. So I like with that, what's important for me to be recognized as his mom. I took that job very seriously. I still take it seriously,
Yes.
although it's much less hands-on.
Okay.
Obviously, because they're out of the house. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom, and I honored that. Mm-hmm. But what makes me me? My friends, my faith. I live a relatively serene life. Not that things don't happen, but I'm much more inclined to roll with them when they do.
Absolutely.
I don't fight stuff as much as I did when I was younger, and that just comes with age. I when you were saying I have three kids that left the nest, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm old, but because I'm like, that just seems so but I'm living in that space, so I know that to be true. But when you said it, I'm like, wow, that is me, So I guess that's what defines me right now, and that what defines me changes over time. So it's hard to just pick
even
one.
daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what, if I may,
yes,
take us back to what it would be like, I guess, in your household when the three kids were at home. What was it like having them around? What was your relationship with them?
First of all, like I said, I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm forever grateful for that time. I was fortunate enough to recognize too, and I remember consciously being aware of this, like, oh my gosh, like this will not be forever, because it seems like it when they're young. It seems like it's forever, like this is not going to end, especially newborn, stuff like that. And but I remember making that decision, like, wait a second, this will end someday. Like this is not, this, unless something, heaven forbid, happens, this is never going to end, this is going to change. So I wanted to make sure that I enjoyed is a loose term because I didn't enjoy every single aspect of motherhood, as you know. Yeah. But I did know that that I wanted to appreciate the time. The good, the bad, the
all
struggles. At least appreciate and learn within those. So
there's a quote or a saying or a phrase that I remember, especially when I had the two of them, my two older ones, when they were really small. We had just moved into a brand new house. I had a newborn, I had a toddler, and we just got a new dog.
Oh.
I was like, and this is just way too much for me. And I all of my babies were born C-section, so recovering from the surgery in and of itself was another challenge on top of that. But I remember being so frustrated, and somebody told me the years are short, but the days are long. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly it, because everything does fly by. Yes. In the day of it, in the moment of it, you're like, oh, this is so tiring. When is this going to end? And then it's like, wait a minute, it already ended. And looking back, it's amazing how fast the time goes.
Yeah.
So would you say that your relationship with your kids, being able to be a stay-home mom, was very close? Were you, some people call it helicopter parents? Were you more of a hands-off parent? What was your style?
Yes, and I love that you ask for the distinction between that, because while I was involved, very involved, I took every opportunity, room mom, I chaired this, I chaired that at the school, and and there's good and bad to all of that, just because of politics, just the climate, but what my kids took away from that is she's there. She's aware.
Yeah.
She's, should I need something, she's present. But by no means was I a helicopter parent. I mean, in fact, I think I erred on the opposite spectrum of that.
Right.
And again, a conscious decision to do that because I had heard that term early on, and I'm like, I don't want to be that. You know, I don't want to be up in their business and know everything.
Yeah.
My philosophy was trust them until if or when the trust is violated, and then we'll go from there. Then I'll make decisions from there.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough that we just never had any big violations. So I didn't have to have these huge rules that were more about me than them.
Right.
Which I feel parents err on the side of that, like it's more about them and what they're bringing to the table, like these rigid rules. And I knew I didn't want that. Like, I have a great example of this, which I love to tell this story because it just brings me right back. We lived in this beautiful home and a great place to raise kids. And my oldest was about 5, maybe 4, maybe even younger. And he was really into peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like loved peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay. So no matter what I cooked for everybody else, he wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I did that for a while. I'd make the spaghetti and then I'd make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then my husband was like, you can't, no, he eats spaghetti. And I was like, it just didn't feel right to me. What would be the harm in him eating peanut butter and jelly,
Right.
But then I was like, but you have a point. That's craziness. I'm not going to make spaghetti and then make a peanut,
Yeah.
So I sat him down, my oldest, and I said, totally fine. If you want to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm sure it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
However, mom's busy.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to make your own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I thought maybe he would go, okay, never mind, I'm just going to have spaghetti. But he thought about it. I mean, he's like 5.
Yeah.
So he gave it some real thought. And he decided, I'm going to need a bench to stand up on because I can't reach So he had worked it all out in his head. And son of a gun, the guy made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for about a year.
Wow.
Maybe a year and a half. I mean, like all by himself. He did the whole thing.
I love it.
But see, I also had to trust he's going to be okay with the knife. He's going to be okay with the bread, and he's not going to make a mess. And if he makes a mess, he'll learn to clean it up. It's working all those things out, but giving him the power. So,
yeah. And he, in turn, giving him a choice, a reasonable choice for his age, that he feels that he's able to decide for himself and then to be able to execute the action of taking care of himself.
Yes.
Not only does he learn independence, he learns confidence because it's something, I can do this for myself. So now he's self-assured, he's confident. He knows that his mom trusts him because you're letting him use a knife, you're letting him get move the stool by himself. So he feels it empowers him as well. Yeah. So and like you said, if he wants to make his own sandwich, now you're showing him also that you trust his choices.
Right.
So that's
Which
a beautiful story all around.
Right, which has served he and I both well for years.
Wow.
I often recall that story, and I thought about it when I was getting ready today, and I thought, oh yeah, that's such a good memory. Yeah. So all those things and more.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When your son, as he got older, obviously, you said he made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the next year and a half or so.
Yes, and let me interject. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt you. But it was funny because of course, then we were in this role of him making the sandwiches, and then again, my husband is like, "What is this ever going to end? Like, is he never going to eat normal food?" There's always like another issue. And I said, "No, hold on.
Yeah. Let
me think about it." I'm like, if we have to order peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for his wedding someday, so be it. Like let's just go with it. Let's just be in the moment with it.
Allow it.
Allow it. Yeah, it was good. And no, to this day, he does not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but he does cook all his own meals, and he, he's very independent in that way. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, as he grew, as your relationship with him grew, talk to us a little bit about, because this is something that I'm going to be experiencing in the next few months. What is it going to be like? Because you, as a parent who was involved but not necessarily helicopter parenting,
right.
And I would definitely put myself probably in the same category. I'm definitely involved with my children. If they want to come talk to me, then my door is always open.
Yes.
But I won't force my way in and force them to tell me anything if they weren't necessarily ready. And like you, I want to be able to trust them with their choices, with their decisions, and know that, and feel confident in my parenting skills, that I raised them as best as I could.
Yes.
So in the next few months, when I'm going to be getting ready and buying her new bed sheets for her bed and all of that stuff, as I prepare her for college, how or what should I expect? What should I expect for myself? What is it like as a parent getting ready to have a child leave home?
Well, I'll take you a little bit further back. Okay. So, and I know this is school admission time, so a lot of parents are finding out their children are accepted to wherever. Well, my son decided, never having been to New York, that's where he wanted to go. So, that was the beginning of me really backing off a little bit.
Okay.
Doing contrary to what initially I wanted to do, which was, you can't go to New York. Like, I want you to stay here.
Yeah.
And New York, you decide, I have it all, I had it all in my head, as shootings. I mean, I was totally out of touch. But when I reeled myself back, I thought, well, this is his life. If this is where he wants to go, go with it. And what we did was we decided we'll go for a summer and see how you like it. Me hoping, not saying, but hoping he's not going to like it and then decide to go somewhere else. But he spent a summer in New York and fell in love with it. So he decided, I am going to apply. I'm going to move to New York. And at the time, in his head, he was like, I'm going to live there for the rest of my life. I think it's where I want to be. And anyway, so, but I remember the day that he got accepted. And I thought, oh, this is really happening. Yeah. And I thought, well, first kid to leave the house. I have a whole summer, summer plus maybe 2 months to impart all of my motherly wisdom. Like, I got to get it all in before he goes.
I got to teach him everything.
Like, or go through the checklist. Like, okay, he got this one, but we got to do this one again. And I started to get frantic about it. Okay. And, he's over here calm as a cucumber. And then I thought, wait a second, Alicia, you have the summer plus maybe a couple months left with this kid before he goes. How do you want it to roll? Do you really want to be that, And I remember very, very specifically and very consciously saying, no, no. If he hasn't learned it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And if he hasn't learned it and he wants to learn it, he'll ask. So I allowed for that. I allowed that to happen. And it was one of the better decisions I think I've ever made, because I honestly thought to myself, unless he says, Mom, what do I do in A, B, or C? Or what do I do about A, B, or C? Unless those specific words come out of his mouth, I say nothing. I'm going to watch him transition, make
adjust,
decisions, and I'm going to, because this could go wrong really fast.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And it was real hard at first. It was difficult because, but our relationship changed. We've always had a really good relationship, but I saw it mellow, like kind of morph into, not friends, because I never claim to be friends with my kids. I love them and they're good people, but I am a parent and they know that. So, but
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No.
But I love that you said that, because something that I always told my children is, I'm here to be your mom, not your friend. You can make friends at school.
Yes.
And my job, like, while I am friendly with my child,
right.
I'm not their friend. I'm going to tell them things that they don't necessarily agree with or like, or that may hurt their feelings, but no one else will tell them things like, honey, it's time to take a shower,
right.
Or like, maybe let's change the socks or whatever it is. But, those are things that a parent is there to do, to make sure that they're learning, to make sure that they're safe, to make sure that they're blossoming, and all of that. But sorry, I don't mean to interject on your story. But
no, not at all. But our relationship did morph more into more of a companionship. Like it just, it just
beautiful. Yeah.
It just felt he wanted to spend time with me. So I didn't say it, and I didn't say, hey, we got to spend all this time together before you leave. But it naturally happened because I shut up, because I didn't force my agenda on him, on this move, on this transition. And, you know, he didn't come at me right away with questions, so it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
But he just, we spent easy time together. I mean, by easy, I mean, we were walking on the beach, you know, and just talking. And you know, I kind of got a little disgruntled toward the end of the summer because he hadn't asked my advice for anything. So I thought, well, this isn't really working the way I thought it would. But by the time we left, or the night before I left New York, he started asking questions, you know.
Questions like?
Well, I can't remember the specifics, but I'll give you an example too of, you mentioned bed sheets. I have a great bed sheet story because, you know, I had gotten at that point a little bit better at not giving my advice and my 2 cents and stuff like that. But we were moving him into the dorm, like everybody does, and there's all these parents and all these kids, and Bed Bath & Beyond is just busting with parents and freshmen, and it was time to pick out his sheets, and he said, Mom, I want white. I want a white duvet, and I want white sheets and white pillowcase and all white. And in my head, I'm thinking, you're an 18-year-old boy in a dorm. Like in my head, I'm like, gray, but I mean, that was so obvious to me. And but then I thought, nope, don't do it. You know, just don't say it.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, let's get it, and we'll get a bottle of bleach.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think he was so proud, like in that moment, like she's not down my back telling me what I need to. He wanted white. What's wrong with that? And I think we got 2 sets just in case. But,
and
so.
it's sometimes as a parent, it's knowing when to pick your battles, I guess.
Yes.
And like, okay, so white isn't the most practical or logical choice, but if it's what they want, is it really going to hurt them?
No,
you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like same with the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Yeah, it's a little bit extra time, but if they learn to make it on their own, is it really going to hurt them? I think that sometimes we need to, as parents, trust our children a little bit more.
Yes.
To be able to allow them that space so that they don't feel smothered. Because if they're constantly relying on us to do everything for them, take for example, my daughter, she was teasing because we went to go visit her school, and at the airport, we were telling her, like, okay, make sure you're paying attention, because this is when you go off to school, this is what it's going to be like when you go to the airport for yourself.
Yes.
Check in, where to find your gate, where to put your luggage, all this stuff. And she goes, no, you and Dad are just going to have to fly out, come get me, and then fly me. And I was like, no, that's not. And I was like, you need to learn to trust yourself as well.
Yeah.
I also love that you said
cool.
having that summer of just the few months that you have left. Should I spend it trying to cram all of this information down their throat, or should I just enjoy it?
Yeah.
You used the word companion. And I think that was so beautiful, because being able to enjoy your children, but also to receive their enjoyment.
Right.
Allowing them to enjoy your company is something that I think gets lost. Because sometimes parents are like, we get so stuck on, oh, they need me. I need to be there for them. What about when they just want to be around you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if it doesn't need to be talking? I mean, it can be casual talking, but to just enjoy their company, the companionship.
Yes.
Of feeling that emotional support and love.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So you shared with me once a story about actually having experienced having a child leave the home, that the school actually asked you to speak to other parents?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Awesome. Would you be able to share that story with us?
Well, I had met with the dean of students prior to parent orientation, and then so we had freshman parent orientation, which you will probably
Yeah, we're getting there.
which is kind of cool because it's just freshman parents, so you're all walking the same walk, and I thought it was really good it was a good experience for me. But anyway, we were in the auditorium and all these parents, and the dean was saying something like, you guys, it's you're letting go of your kids, and they're going to make their decisions, and I want you to be comfortable with, just know that they're making decisions, and they have resources here. But I mean, she was just trying to let them know that it's not necessary to call your kids
every day,
and she said, in fact, I think there's an example of somebody that allowed their children to make their own choices. Alicia, do you mind? And I'm like, well, a little bit, but I'm not going to not do it now. But
right.
So there I was up on stage sharing that story that I just shared with you. But that's kind of when I knew. I mean, I kind of knew it was a good decision.
Yeah.
But when she just sort of endorsed it in that moment. And so that was powerful for me. And I know it was powerful for my son. He's gone on to make countless independent decisions.
Right.
And, I either agree with them or I don't. And if I don't agree, I don't have to say anything about it. Again, pick your back. I don't have to voice it. I have girlfriends I can talk to. I have other people I can talk to, if I don't necessarily agree with it. And and he's not the guy, unless it's dangerous or going to put him in jeopardy in some way, then I would voice something, but
That's so nice. I think that when I left for school, and I'm trying to remember my own experience, because I left for college at 18, and pretty much from then on moved out of the house.
Right.
And it's funny because my dad actually was talking to me. I was on the phone with my dad, and I was saying, her 18th birthday is coming up. She's celebrating her 18th birthday soon, and he's like, oh, so what do you, there's in the Filipino tradition, usually the 18th birthday is a big party.
Okay.
And she opted out of that. She didn't want to do the big party. She wanted to have an intimate dinner with some of her best friends. But she was like, my dad was saying, oh, that's really special. Like, it's nice that you're going to be able to do that, because this is basically the last birthday you're going to celebrate with her. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, she's just going off to college. She's going to come back home. And he's like, honey, you never came back home. And I was like, huh. And it was like, it was in that moment, I realized my parents have experienced what I'm about to experience. Yes. And I never even asked them what it was like for them when I left home. And then now I'm going to be experiencing it from the other side, learning what that's like. And to know that, our door for our children will always be open. If they need help after college or after, they've started their own adult life, then, they're welcome. Our house is still their home.
Right.
But it's also interesting to have that idea in the back of my head, like, this is her starting her own life, and my role is going to significantly change in her life. So we're going to take a really quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, I want to talk to Alicia a little bit about what it was like for the differences that she experienced with all of her children. Each child is different. How that change and adjustment has been for her since. So we will be right back. Welcome back. We're here with Alicia, and we're talking about having the kids fly off the nest, or fly out of the nest, I guess I should say. So we did talk about the first time experience, but knowing that you are a mom of 3, it's I would assume, just as every child is different, each experience is a little bit different. Would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Could you tell me what it was like for the next 2?
I would absolutely, yes. But you reminded me, because when you said left the nest, my youngest, so I have 3 kids, and when my youngest we were getting ready to move him, this was back, I don't know, like October, November. Anyways, there was a bird's nest that was like right above my garage, and it the symbolism was not lost on me, the mama bird made this nest every year at the same time. So I was used to it. But this particular year, right as before he was leaving, she laid 3 eggs. I know. And I was so obsessed with that nest. Because it was going on in the household and it was going on in the literally in the nest.
Oh,
and it was so cool. And I watched those birds hatch and then when the third one flew off, it was. I get into stuff like that because there are no mistakes,
right?
You know?
Absolutely.
But anyway, yes, very different, and just like the relationship is different with all 3 kids, and in hindsight, I'm now grateful that my son chose to go all the way to New York because then any subsequent move was going to be a little bit easier, I think, in my mind.
Unless they go international.
Exactly. Well, but actually. His first semester, he did. He took advantage of the study abroad program. So he spent a semester in Australia. So he kind of prepared me for any move there on, which was nice.
Wow.
But I think it's just the first one you've done it. It's there. And then the second, my daughter went up to Santa Barbara, so that it's close.
Yeah,
it's,
not as far.
Not as far.
Being able to visit her on the weekends or whatnot.
Exactly.
Nice.
But, so, and she did not move into the dorm. We got her right into an apartment from the get-go, so that was nice. So then I could visit. So there are just little differences with every child, which is just so protocol for parenting.
Right.
There's always little differences and they don't all fit the same mold, and that's true with experiences.
Did you find that it was, I don't want to say more challenging, but would you say that it had a bigger effect on you or on the kids leaving home?
That's a great question. And I don't know. I think with my son, my oldest son, he was ready. New York, he's ready. Whereas my daughter, I knew that she was ready, but she's definitely more of a home person, one-on-one gal. Smaller, like she gets easily overwhelmed, and so I knew it was going to be an adjustment, and so I don't know if it was a little bit more difficult for her.
Okay.
Being close, I think, helped both of us. So I don't know if there was a hard, fast answer to that. It's a great question that I will probably think about. But
yeah, well, the reason why I asked it is because obviously different personalities are going to affect what their experiences, right? So I can definitely see the difference in my children. While I would say that my eldest, she actually is a lot more likely to ask questions.
Okay.
So if she needs help, if she needs something, she's likely to ask. Whereas my 2, while they're not of college age yet, or they're not ready to head out yet, I feel like my middle child, my son, he is very much like, I will build the parachute after I jump. You know what I mean? Like let me just figure it out, and I'll figure it out along the way. It'll be just fine. And then my other one, my final child, my baby, I almost feel like I'm gonna have to kick her out. Like it's time to go. Like trust your wings, you got this. Yeah. Because she but it's also because she's my baby. She still, she's 12 years old, but she still loves to snuggle in bed with us, and on the weekends, she's just I'm just gonna climb in bed and watch cartoons in there, and whatnot. But it's so nice to see their different personalities and how it's going to come into play when they are off on their own, and to see what they actually learned at home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
If the traditions or the things that we maybe the beliefs or the practices that we had at home, if they actually stick. One of our practices or one of our, I guess, norms in our house is we actually eat dinner together every night, whether they're hungry or not, or if they've we really make it an effort to have a meal together every day. Sometimes if they have practices or extracurricular activities, they're obviously going to miss it. But when I was talking to my eldest, she was like, that's probably one of the things that I'm going to miss the most, because it's that time to just ground and
Right.
come back to like, okay, this is like base, so to
Yes,
speak.
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, this is where I know that I'm safe, that I'm good. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about anything.
Right.
I'm just touching base.
Yeah.
And which is really nice. So it'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
I know when I left, I talked to my mom, I talked to my brother, and they all said like it was very different when you left the house, because some children are more of the, what's the word that I'm looking for, like the ones that bring everybody together.
Right.
I would say that my youngest child, she's hilarious. She's the one who gets everybody involved. Like, let's all do this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be very different when she eventually leaves. My son, he's so sarcastic. He's really funny, very witty. So he's like the delightful, like, make sure everybody is happy kind of child. And then my oldest one, she's very nurturing. She's taking care of everybody. Make sure she's that type of kid where if there's, I don't know, 2 pieces of chicken left on the table, she'll be the one that says, does anybody else want the second to the last piece?
Yeah.
Not even the last piece,
Right.
the second to the last
Right.
piece. Because she wants to make sure that everybody is taken care of. So having that, she's like a mini mommy,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to find that, to I guess to have that part of our household kind of like not fading away, but fading out.
Changing.
Changing. It's going to be definitely an adjustment for
Yeah.
us. So, but I can't wait to hear about her adventures. And
Yes.
I know she's going to have a blast, like learning about herself, learning about how she fits in the world, and her
Yes.
impact in the world. It's going to be really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Yeah.
your youngest, fortunately, will get the experience of watching the other 2 leave.
Yeah.
Which is not, because
Yeah.
it just occurred to me in hearing you talk, like not only is an adjustment for the child leaving the parent, it's an adjustment for the kids,
Very
the younger
much.
kids as well.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, it was important to acknowledge that, you know, and it's just a shift in the whole family.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Very obviously.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, my 2 girls, my daughters, they're actually very close. Actually, my eldest is kind of the bond between the 3 of them.
Okay.
She hangs out with her younger brother because there's only a 1.5 year difference between the 2 of them, and they go out and they have mutual friends in common, and so it's easy for them to like talk and communicate. And then she has this very special bond with her younger sister because, you know, when she picks her up from school, they go to Target and they buy snacks together,
yeah.
or they'll like go out and get like a Jamba Juice or something fun, you know. So it's nice that she has individual bonds with them, and then together the 3 of them have their own bond, and then we are a very tight-knit family, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the dynamics change.
Yeah.
So,
and it's great. It is. You know, I hesitate to, how do I say this? When I was looking at my youngest son leaving, and then that meant all 3 of them were gone. You know, this was going to be an adjustment. I was kind of prepared myself. This is going to happen. What is that going to look like for me? And I knew that I would experience some loneliness. You know, I just knew because I had been, you know, I had raised these kids. I mean, it's like 23 years.
Yeah, on the job.
Yeah. So. Well, actually, I guess I don't know, a lot of years. So I knew it was going to be adjustment, and I also allowed myself, like, I'm going to experience some sadness, like lonely, like walking past empty room, you know, like, and I remember so when my second child left, having had the experience, you know, she's an ice cream eater, and she takes the spoon and she goes to the freezer and she just takes a spoonful and then eats it and then puts that back and then puts the spoon down. We have a little island and she puts it on the island, and it drove me nuts. I'm like, the sink is right. You know, I didn't say that, but I'm like, the sink is right.
Yeah.
Like, what? Every time I would walk in, I would see this spoon and I'm like, oh my God, come on. It's right. You know, it really unnerved me for a long time. And then when she left, when we moved her up to Santa Barbara, I came home and I remember the first morning or afternoon, I don't remember, she eats ice cream all the time, but I remember there was no spoon, and I got a little sad. I'm like, I spent a lot of time bummed out about the spoon. It's a spoon, and now there's no spoon, which means she's not here. And I bring back the spoon, so it's okay. It's like, and same thing. I remember she's, of the 3 kids, she's my messy child, both of my boys are neater than her,
wow.
I remember thinking the same thing, like, pretty soon it's going to be a clean room, and that means she's not here. And
right.
so,
It's definitely a big change to experience that. It'll be interesting, to say the least.
But and allow yourself all the feelings, and that's what I would encourage any parent to do. I have some friends going, but guess what? You get to do all this, and you get to do all that, and yes, and I'm experiencing loneliness.
Yes.
My sister, I can always call up my sister and go, I am lonely, and she'll allow me to be lonely.
Exactly.
Doesn't need to rush in there and fix it for me, because it's not something you can fix.
Right.
Or I couldn't fix.
Right.
It's loneliness meant I love them, and I miss them, and those are all good things.
Yeah. I think it's so important that so important and so poignant that you said that you allowed yourself to feel all the feelings, because love is not just like, stars in your eyes and, big bouncing hearts that are coming out of your chest. Love is being able to feel sadness. It's being able to feel grief when they're not around, sorrow for them not being there. It's being able to have that tender, warm feeling of and joyful feeling, but all of that is love. So it's a huge spectrum. And being able to feel all of those emotions means that it's not necessarily trapped in your body.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it allows you to come back to the joy sooner, faster, and not only that, but to be able to really feel that joy. Because if you don't process, in my opinion, if you're not able to process I am lonely right now, or I do miss them right now, I do feel sorrow or grief or sadness, then you can't fully experience the joy of like, this is awesome. I'm so happy for them. I'm happy for me.
Yes.
Now I don't feel any guilt for, going out while they're gone, or, it's none of that. So I think it's beautiful that you say that experiencing all of the feelings.
All of them.
That's
all
perfect.
of them. Yes.
So perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to take one more quick break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, I want to talk to Alicia just a little bit about her experiences now that all of the kids are gone. So we will be right back. Welcome back. So Alicia, my final question to you is, how, now that all 3 are off on their own and doing adult, grown-up things, how has it been for you? How have you been adjusting to this time?
Well, I tell people, and I'm honest. I will not lie. It's been tough. It's even knowing that it's going to happen. You're never really prepared. I mean, yes, I was prepared, but also I wasn't, because now I'm challenged with finding, I know that I'm always a mom, but like the day in and day out, my relationship, like we kind of touched upon this before, my relationships with each kid changed a little bit as they left, and then the ones that weren't leaving at the time, it changed a little bit there too. So for me, it was just a building upon, and thank goodness for FaceTime and stuff like that. My kids are big FaceTimers, so
in my head, I'm thinking that eventually, when we do get to that point where all 3 of them have flown off on their own, like, I'm thinking, I only have to pay for dinner for my husband and I now. Like,
true.
That's going to be so much easier.
Those are good changes.
I could sleep in later, or things like that, thinking it would bring more freedom, but it doesn't necessarily, because, as they're older, you you don't really worry about,
Right.
rushing them to soccer practice and doing all those things. And now it's more like, hey, what do you guys want to do?
Right. Right.
So
right.
There's
a great design to it because we kind of are prepared. Like when you were talking about your oldest picking the youngest up from
from school,
going to Target, driving was kind of, I know as a parent, that was one of the first things for me to let go. You know? And so I feel like I was a little prepared all along the way, and these normal life events that we all got to go through. But I laugh because when you said changes, after my second left, my middle daughter, she was gone for maybe 6 or 7 months, and then COVID hit, and then we were all back in the house together, hanging out, doing all the things that I was worried I was going to miss. So all three of us were together again, and we got that for a good 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
about.
So that was kind of an interesting little spin on the so it's like we never know. We think it's going to look like something, and I always have to prepare myself. It's not going to look exactly like I think it's going to look. It's going to look very different, and we're going to go for it.
And I think that it's important that we realize, like, you just have to go with the flow.
Yes.
Like, trying to control every little element it's impossible.
Right.
All we really have is the choice of how we're going to adapt and interact with what's happening. Like, do we want it to be, okay, well, now you're in my house, it's my rules,
right.
or do we want to, like,
no.
hey, there's the spoon again.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a matter of just being able to say, like, oh, this feels good, let's go with that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and it's ever evolving. I always thought, this was a place we land. The kids are going to be gone, and I'll see them when they come back and visit. But it's changed the way our relationship is, in really wonderful ways. Again, I'm not their best friend, but my son was home. My oldest son was home. He had spring break last week, and he came home, and it's like a roommate almost situation. Like we just we have a good time together.
Yeah.
We went and rode bikes, and just stuff like that. So it's just being prepared for the change and embracing the change and enjoying the change.
Embracing it. Such a beautiful word.
Yeah.
Embracing it. Thank you so much. It was so much fun to have you here, Alicia, just to be able to be in this energy with you. I actually have a gift for you. I wanted to give this to you on behalf of Soul Loved. This is our vitality bracelet. And the reason why I wanted to give this to you is because there's so much vitality and vibrance and light to you. It's all about enjoying life and all the adventures to come. So I wanted to give this to you on behalf of Soul Loved.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the colors. I'm going to put it on right now.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back in just over a week, and we will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.